Good morning. Good morning, everybody. We'll begin today's session. So this is the first question. You have to identify the option that will replace the question mark. You're given here a series. You have to identify which question will replace the question, which options will replace the question mark. So here one particular thing is clearly happening, that the bike is first facing it this way, then the opposite side, then this way, and then again it has to face the opposite side like this. So from that option, B and C are fine, A is wrong and D is wrong. Between then, if we are able to locate the slippers orientation, we'll be able to gauge the answer there. First, it looks upward, then anti-clockwise this direction, then this direction, which clearly means in this case, it has to look upward back. So option C is the one which shows the right orientation, B is wrong, and C is the right answer here. We'll move to the next one. Each of these shapes is associated with one or more alphabets. You have to identify the alphabet or alphabets for the last shape. We are here given here shapes, and then each of these correspond to a letter. They may correspond to one or more letters. One shape may correspond to one or more letters. Which of these alphabets correspond to this figure is what you have to find. Okay. Now here, if you look at the question shapes which are given here, a three-sided figure gives the third letter. C is the third letter. A six-sided figure gives the sixth letter. Eight-sided figure gives the eighth letter. And eight and four-sided figure, this is 8 and 4 combination, gives H and D, which is 8. H is 8th letter and D is the 4th letter. The question figure which we are asked has 8 sides. So clearly, it will correspond to the 8th letter being H. So correct answer is option A here. We'll move to the next one. Identify the option that will replace the question mark. Which of these options will replace the question mark? Okay, it's a clock which we are given clearly. This says 9 o'clock, this says 9 o'clock, this says 3 o'clock, this says something, and this says 7:30. Okay. So if you look at the difference in time that is being shown, it is 0 or 12, either of them. This is 6 hours, something, and then something else, and 7:30. If I start with 0, 6, which means this has to be 12 hours difference in that case. Okay. So if I say 0, then 6 hours difference, and then this has to be 12 hours. So it will have to be 3 o'clock in that case. But there's no 3 o'clock option which is given here. So we reject that option. In which case we go with the part that no. What if it's a 12-hour difference that is there? So 12 hours, half of it 6 hours. Then here also half of it, which means 3 hours difference. So the time here that has to read should be actually 6 o'clock, in which case, and 3 ka half, which will be 1.5, say 7:30, also matches that sequence. So which means that 12 hours, 6 hours difference, 3 hours difference, and 1.5, which means the difference is gradually becoming half. That is the correct logic. The time that will be shown here will hence be 6 o'clock. So option B is the one which is the right option here. Okay. We'll move to the next one. The object shown below is rotated 180 degrees about the x-axis in anti-clockwise direction as seen from the top. You have to identify the trail left by the orange globes when seen from the top side. Here we are given this axis, x-axis. The globe that will be formed is rotated along this central axis, x. Now, what does that mean? Which means some circles will be full, some circles will be half. We first, based on that central location, definitely there will be a point in the middle, which all the options are. So we don't have to worry about it. It is rotating anti-clockwise, it's rotating this way. So we'll first count from that central point, how many globes are there in the first row, okay? In the first row, why? Because they are equidistant. We don't have this in-between position happening, so we do not have to get confused anywhere. But so we'll be able to gauge, is the circle distribution equal on both? Is the is the blobs distribution equal on both the sides along the central axis, which are equidistant. So here, how many blobs are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 blobs. On this side, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 blobs. On one side, you have 8. On another side, you have 7 blobs. Okay, so it's an unequal distribution. What it means that there will be one outer circle on the outside, which will be a half circle. There will be one circle on the outside, which will be a half circle. ये 7 वाला circle इसके साथ मिलेगा, which will form a complete circle. And henceforth, the 8 circle, which is this one, will form a half circle. Because we are rotating in an anti-clockwise direction, that half circle will be formed in the bottom side because we are rotating in anti-clockwise direction because of that, and then a point in the middle. So half circle getting formed at the bottom is happening where? A is wrong because it's a complete circle. C में ऊपर हो रहा है तो C भी गलत है. B and D are fine, not a problem. Now, from that, what we then start looking at all the blobs together that are happening at different layers also. Okay. So we know that 7 and 7 will come together and complete the circle. After that, 6 and 6 will come together and complete the circle, and 6 and 5. 6 and 5 will complete the circle, but then there will be an intermediate circle here, which will be drawn between them. So what will happen is there will be a line, a circle that will be formed here. Another circle with equidistant will be formed here. Along that same distance, there will be another circle that will be formed, and then there will be another line which will be happening in between. So there will be an H, and then a third line happening here like this. And then you, of course, have the outer line, outer half circle also happening somewhere, which we are not drawing right now, but yeah, it will be there. So where is that happening between B and D? In B, you have this line and then the 3 lines. So B is fine. D may you have first 3 lines and then the single line, which is wrong. So option B is the one which is the right answer here. Okay, we'll move to the next one. Which shape will exactly fit with figure 1 without leaving any gaps? Given that the shapes can be rotated, you can rotate the shapes. We have to identify which of these shapes will fit exactly the given figure. If you look at all the options, B, C, and D, all these have these less spacing here, versus in the question figure, here you have more spacing, which actually corresponds to the spacing that we see in option A. So B is wrong, C is wrong, and D is also wrong. Option A is the one which is the right answer here. We'll move to the next one. A cube, a cuboid, a cone, and a sphere are developed from an experimental material. In vacuum, the combined mass of the cuboid and the sphere is equivalent to the combined mass of cube and cone. The mass of cuboid is equivalent to the combined mass of sphere and cone. The sphere weighs 2 kilos and occupies a volume of 62.5 cubic centimeters in vacuum. One of the properties of this material is such that the length of the cube doubles when exposed to air. How many cubes are needed to fill the tank of 50 by 50 by 50 centimeters in air? Okay. We're given here certain combinations associated with the weights of cube, cuboid, cone, and sphere in vacuum. And then we are also given one property of what happens to this material when exposed to air, which means where its length gets doubled. And after that, we have to find how many cubes can be fitted in this tank of dimension 50 by 50 by 50. Pretty clear. So we first start with laying down the equations that are there. So the combined mass of cuboid plus sphere is equivalent to mass of cube plus cone. First equation. Mass of cuboid is equivalent to mass of sphere plus cone, and sphere weighs 2 kilos. Its volume is equal to 62.5 cubic centimeters. We replace the value of mass of cube in this place, mass of sphere in this equation. So cuboid is 2 plus cone, and then this and this equation we replace here. So cuboid, which is 2 plus cone, and sphere ka mass is 2 kilos is cube plus cone. Cone gets eliminated. So mass of cube is going to be 4 kilos. Cube is 4 kilos and sphere weighs 2 kilos. Sphere weighs 2 kilos and its mass occupies a volume of 62.5 in vacuum. So in vacuum, when mass to volume, when mass is 2 kilos, it occupies a volume of 62.5 cubic centimeter. So when mass is 4 kilos, it occupies what volume? So volume of cube here will be equal to 4 into 62.5 upon 2, which comes to 125 cubic centimeter, which is the volume of the cube. Okay, this is in vacuum. All right. Now, in vacuum only, we'll then find the length of the cube. The length of the cube is cube root of volume, which will be equal to cube root of 125, which is, 5 centimeter. This is this 5 centimeter is in vacuum. So in air, what happens is the length doubles. The length of the cube doubles when exposed to air. So the new length becomes 2 times the vacuum wala length of cube. So 2 into 5, which is 10 centimeters, is the length of the cube in air, which we got it. We also know what is the length, what's the tank dimension. So number of cubes that can be accommodated in the tank will be volume of tank 50 by 50 by 50 upon volume of cube, which is 10 by 10 by 10. Length is 10 centimeters in air, that's why, which comes to 125 cubes. The answer is option B, 125. Any questions? Okay, we'll move to the next one here. Shown below are different views of the same ball. You have to identify its top view. You're given here 4 balls. You have to identify the top view of the ball. Now, if you look at the front view, we're given here front, back, left, and right. If you look at the front view, this ends at in the top, in the middle, which means that in the plan wala ball, there has to be, when we look at the plan, there has to be a stroke happening in the middle part somewhere here. And on the side, and then of course front ye wala side wala part hai, and then on the side nothing has to come. But if you look at this side view, the left side view, the right side view, you will find that there is something happening on this side also, which means there will be a stroke which will be in plan, there will be a stroke which will be happening here. Or left में आपका कुछ नहीं है, so nothing will happen here. और पीछे के साइड पे कुछ भी नहीं हो रहा है. So what that means is that definitely a stroke has to come here and a stroke has to come here. So there's only one option where that condition gets fulfilled, which is option A. There's no other place where the stroke starts from here and ends here. So A is the right answer here. Okay, we'll move to the next one. Identify the odd one out here. Which of these figures is the odd one out here? In this case, we first start with numbers. What numbers? Here intersections are happening. Many intersections are happening. So for each strip, we start laying the number of intersections that are there. Purple strip, 3 intersection. Yellow strip, 4 intersection. Red, 2 intersection. Blue, 3 intersection. Green, 2 intersection. Green, 2 intersection. Purple, 4 intersection. Blue, 2 intersection. Blue, 2 intersection. Red, 2 intersection. And yellow will be 4 intersection. This is different, of course. So we clearly know that it's A or B, either one, which is the odd one out. But still, we'll keep on looking at the intersection. So red, 2, yellow, 4, blue, 3, and green, 2. Green 2, blue 3, yellow 4, and red 2, which clearly means B has some odd intersections happening. So option B is the one which is the odd one out, where the intersection do not match with other figures. Okay, we'll move to the next one. The enclosed yellow shape within the letter B is called a counter. Which option has the red shape as the counter? Which of these options has the red shape as the counter? Now, when you look at the options, A may, there is a kink which is coming here. There's a point which is clearly legible here. Also here. If you look at the counter, it does not have a point. It's a very smooth curve, but we can definitely differentiate the vertical line and the curvature. It is also not like how we see in option C, which is a smooth curve and no vertical line. So A and C are wrong here. A and C are both are wrong here based on that. Now we look at option B. In option B, we have to look at this curvature versus in D, when you compare this curvature, it's more fat curvature compared to a narrowing down curvature. So D wala option galat hai. Option B is the one which is the right answer here. Then move to the next one. Shown below is a schematic diagram of two rows of test tubes with ground shadows seen from the top. The test tubes are of varying height. You have to identify the set of test tubes that cast this same shadow here. Okay. Now, when you look at all the options and the test tubes heights which are given here, one thing that you will find peculiar is there are three test tubes with good height, considerable height, because thin shadows are bigger here. That's why. And of course, the end test tube, which is a purple one, will have a shorter shadow here, but definitely not this shorter shadow, little bit longer. So C is wrong because of that. Option B is also wrong because of that, because यहाँ पे ये बड़ा दिया है. This is too smaller shadow. Versus this length is considerable compared to what the size of the shadow given here is there. So B and C both are wrong. Between A and D, when you look at it, if you have this condition where one very big test tube is there and one small test tube is there, this shadow will be the biggest and ye wala shadow aapka chota aayega. Versus in the question figure, all these shadows are of the same height. So you cannot have one test tube which goes little bit longer than the other. So option A wala jo part hai, so ye wala yahan tak aana chahiye if this was the condition. So A wala option is wrong. Option D is the one which is the right answer here. Okay, we'll move to the next one. A naughty kid plays with a clock kept on the table as shown below. She changes the hour and the minute hands, clockwise adding 8 hours 45 minutes. Clockwise we are moving, we are adding 8 hours 45 minutes to the time, and places the clock by rotating 270-degree anti-clockwise. You have to identify the option that shows this modified time. Okay. Now, the current time that is given in the clock is 1:40. From that 1:40, we are adding 8 hours and 45 minutes. Thus, the new time will become 10:25. 10:25 time will look something like this. After this, we are rotating the clock in anti-clockwise direction by 270-degree. So 270-degree anti-clockwise is equal to 90-degree clockwise. Both are the same. So we rotate this 90-degree clockwise, and then we find that the time has to look at 1:40 only. It has to look by 1:40. 1:40 time is given in A and D. B is wrong. C is also wrong. A and D has the time 1:40 given, but there is a difference between A and D. It's this corner which is given. One has yellow triangles and one has yellow and orange triangles here. Okay. Now, in the question figure, when nothing is happening at that point in time and just time is changing, you have yellow triangle. But then after rotation, this yellow will shift here, and ye yellow and orange will have to come in this position like we see here. So option A is wrong based on that, and D is the right answer here. All right. With this, guys, we will end this session here. If you do like our content, do share and subscribe our channel. And I really thank you for your time. Thank you so much, guys.